go. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Nam Phan of Pacific Private Money and Patti Cohn of Pacific Union International. Mark Hanf is off today. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. You're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for a 5-pack tanning certificate. And those certificates are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Tan Bella Tanning Salon with 2 locations in San Francisco and 1 in Marin. Today's trivia theme is general trivia. Patti, what's going on in real estate?
Well, it's such an interesting market. It's hard to understand really, because this exact moment, like April 1st, is supposed to be the absolute peak of the residential real estate market all over the country, really. And it's not. I mean, one thing that I have seen happen in the last 5 or 10 years is all those old rules about seasonality, it's gone out the window. So we're basically, in other words, it used to be strong peaks in the in the spring. Excuse me, I get so excited about real estate. It used to be rare, it would really, really peak in the spring.
Yeah.
And be dead in the summer.
Well, we've had
coughing attacks there.
We've had sort of a spring for a while, I guess, although we've had rain in the last March. But prior to that, it was a pretty dry winter relative to last year, right?
Oh,
so
that's right. Yeah, last year
I'm
was
just
a killer.
wondering if the spring buying season started earlier this year, just because there weren't as many weather issues.
Well,
maybe
it did, and then we had rain. Yeah. So I don't know what people are waiting for, but I also think that with low inventory, buyers are out all year round. I mean, I've run into buyers that have been looking for 2 and 3 years.
Right.
Are people getting frustrated because they're getting outbid, and so they're just going off the market? They're just saying, yeah, forget it.
There's a lot of that. There always is a lot of that.
But we'll bring them back just if either if prices drop or if suddenly a flood of inventory comes on the market.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you too, I think there's pent up inventory. In one sense, you think, wow, that's sort of counterintuitive, because why would a seller hold back on listing their property if it's a seller's market? But we do a lot of presentations to mortgage brokerages, to realtor organizations, and the same benefit a seller would have in a seller's market is also going against them when they have to move and purchase.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think sometimes people hold back on selling because they say, you know what, I either don't want to move twice or I don't know where I'm going to move to.
Exactly.
So actually, your company, Pacific Private Money, actually has a good solution for that.
Yeah. So we've been on throughout the Bay Area doing our roadshow, doing presentations to mortgage brokers and realtors and real estate offices, letting them know that, if you have a seller in that situation, Private Money might be able to help, because what we can do is allow them, if the circumstances are right, if they have enough equity and down payment, that combination, we can provide the capital for them to purchase before having to sell their home. And when people hear that, go, oh, okay, wait, so how does this work? Well, essentially, if they can qualify, what we can do is provide the purchase money on the property that they're moving into, even if they don't have their home listed yet. And that allows them to identify the home that they're moving into, and if gives them the time to go make an offer, move into the property, or even rehab it a little bit before they move in. Once they're in, or during that process of escrow and they're going to close, they can go ahead and list their home.
Yeah, it's such a great process. It's so needed.
And when people hear that, there's an opportunity cost. It's it's a higher interest rate property, but a conventional lender, a bank, typically won't be able to make that kind of loan. That's why private money lenders exist, and specifically our bridge loan really solves that problem for them. And people, when they hear that, they're like, wow, this gives me peace of mind.
Yeah. I can imagine the psychological part about moving twice, storage, renting a new place. I mean, that's a major
deal.
Yeah.
Especially if you've got some kids in school and there's homework every night, and it's a big deal.
So I tell realtors out there, a marketing piece might be, to your sellers, are you holding back on listing because you don't know where you're going to move to? This might be an option.
course, they have to have enough equity in their existing house and all that.
Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of baby
Down payment.
boomers who own their homes free and clear. They're actually looking to downsize.
Yes, that's our
So-
market.
Yeah.
If you think about the Bay Area and just the baby boomers in general,
Mhm.
and they really don't want to move twice. I mean, they haven't moved in 50 years. They're not going to,
Yeah.
Right.
you know.
Actually, I want to touch on that later too.
Okay. So when we come back from break, go ahead and touch on that. All right. We're going to go to our first commercial break. First trivia question is, on a menu at a restaurant, what is tripe? TRIPE. What is that? All right. That's our trivia question. Call 888-912-1190 if you're the first caller with the correct answer. You're going to win that 5-pack tanning certificate, which is worth over $100. All right. That's our trivia question. On a menu at a restaurant, what is, if you order tripe? Okay. I want to make a quick mention here too for the Sonoma Orchid Inn. It's less than 5 minutes from an amazing coastal redwood forest. And when you want to relax and enjoy life in Sonoma County and set aside the anxieties, check out the Sonoma Orchid Inn, right across the street from the Russian River. That's a fun place. Corbel Champagne Cellars is right next door. Check them out at sonomaorchidinn.com or call them at 707-869-4466. All right, don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing is going to be right back. Okay.
Tongue, right?
All right, let's, because I've had the
Right.
clicks things
Right.
myself too.
Right? Is it tongue?
I think it's stomach lining.
It is.
Oh.
Yes, it is. It is.
I've had it before.
Yeah, I think.
Have you? Is it good?
It's it's almost like, I don't know. It's kind of like a non.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't really taste anything. It's
Yeah.
just
Oh, really?
textures.
Everything tastes like chicken.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like God, what am I thinking of? I don't know. It's like seaweedish.
Well, I like seaweed. Look, look at all these seaweed things back here.
Not that kind of seaweed. I like that seaweed
Yucky
too.
seaweed. Yeah, especially the teriyaki flavor. You okay? Is it something stuck?
No, I just got excited.
Oh, of course. See, I swallow the wrong way sometimes. So.
That's what it was. It was the air went down.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm going to make sure that this is 50 something minutes long.
Oh,
So
for
that's
your
yeah, because I'm going to try to send this, even though it's live. I'm going to save it, send it to the CMCM,
Mhm.
and let them go ahead and see if they can post it.
Cool.
Because that way because Kramer doesn't do it anymore for us, so we need
So
someone else.
it's still on now. What would they do?
It's
Edit
on.
out this? Or
No. This is
This
just
is
part of the show.
hello.
Hello.
It's live streaming too right now, right?
Yeah.
So we
anybody
gave
who's-
away the answer. So tell your friends to watch the live stream and
That's
they'll know all
right.
the trivia answers.
That's right.
Okay. So you want to touch on something, right?
Yeah.
And then why don't we just go right into email time. That was kind of
Yeah.
fun. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Nam Phan of Pacific Private Money and Patti Cohn of Pacific Union.
Being baby boomers. And we were at a conference earlier this week.
Mhm.
Mark and I were at a conference, Edward. And one of the presentations was about sort of the fix and flip market and how it's in our world, we see a lot of fix and flip requests, or we did for a while, and then it's sort of gone down and people are like, fix and flip business is really dried up. But one of the statistics was the number of baby boomers who have lived in their homes for decades that have not been updated, and they're leaving the marketplace or downsizing, right? or giving it to their kids.
What is the
or-
percentage of baby boomers who haven't, quote, touched their property in years?
I don't know the percentage, but there was like
100. I mean, they
yeah,
haven't touched their property in years.
Yeah.
but there was like 60 million properties occupied by baby boomers that currently that will be hitting the market at some point in the next 10, 15 years,
Good
Yeah.
point.
where a high percentage have not had any rehab work or upgrades.
I wonder how many baby boomers, have kids who are just going to move into the house.
Well, that's the other thing too. So I'm sure there will be a combination of those, but also there are baby boomers who are taking loans out to expand the property rather than move out and bring their kids into it.
There's that
So
too.
we're seeing
And
that.
then really also baby boomers right now would be defined as age 50 to 70,
Mhm.
but it's the generation before that, the 70s and 80s, that's what I meant by 100% of them. They probably haven't touched their house because that generation didn't,
Right.
30s depression.
Yeah.
And they don't want to move twice. They don't move quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
And that house needs to get prepped, at least if they can get figure out, and not everybody, they resist it, but when they start seeing it, that house needs to get prepped before they move.
Yeah, there's a
So-
house in my neighborhood where the husband had passed on, and the wife basically finally realized that it was time for her to move to residential care or some other place because the house is a little bit too big for her. And again, the house, you can tell, has not been updated since the 60s, if even that. And it was relatively clean, but then you look in the backyard and you can see a lot of potential issues with the ground coming up with bricks and stuff like that around the pool. And I'm thinking, I don't know how much that's going to cost to fix. And then you got to put at least a few $100,000 in to the house itself.
Right.
And yet, of course, everyone wants to get the highest dollar because she's thinking, like, hey, I'm going to have to live off this money for the rest of my life, et cetera. And I don't know if there's any offers on it.
Wow. Really?
It's all about pricing. Yeah.
It's all about pricing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting because, a lot of our, my parents and others, they'll be at the point where it'll be, especially in Marin or in the Bay Area where there's multi-story homes, where they won't physically be able to move around their home, and they won't be moving necessarily by choice.
Well, didn't you guys just do a deal in Tiburon, an elder couple, and they downsized? And if I'm not mistaken, I think they went from a 2-story house to a 1-story house.
We did one in Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley. Okay.
It was 2-story. They owned it free and clear, and they wanted to downsize into a single level, smaller on a golf course, but they couldn't get the loan with a bank because they couldn't show income.
Yeah. Retired, not showing up.
So we did a bridge loan
Very
for
common,
them. But I think the housing market, even though there's depressed inventory and there's just not enough being built in the Bay Area, with all the baby boomers who may have to move, I think you're going to see more homes on the market.
Yeah, and part of the reason, honestly, that we do have low inventory, back to what you just said, is a lot of the people are in those 1-story ranches. Like, think about Marin County, the bridge was built in 38.
Right.
So in the 50s and 60s, we had 1-story ranches. Everybody thought they'd move when their kids were out of high school, out of college. The grandchildren are still here. I'm in a 1,500 square foot house with a 1-story. Why move?
Right.
In other words, my taxes are nothing.
Yeah.
So now then you compound that with the baby boomers, but the generation in the 70s and 80s, they're now going, I have to move.
Right.
So it's just that there's just been no inventory, and it's continuing.
Yeah.
Interesting. Moving on to email. Patty says here, have home security devices impacted residential real estate? And I'm not sure exactly if the question means, does that add value? You think that's
Well,
what that
no,
means?
I think there's they do and they don't, because they're so inexpensive. Like, for example, home security device could be like
point.
ring.com,
Right.
Yeah.
Or it would be, any one of those, whatever it is, Alexa or whatever those cameras are, the nanny cams, all that stuff didn't exist, some of it 5 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So, is it legal to record people as they're going through your house? Yes, it is, because it's in your own home.
Right.
Yeah.
It's private
Buyers don't know it, but those sellers are watching their every move.
Well, how many people go through open houses who are, unsavory people looking to steal?
Yeah, there's that too, for security.
Yeah.
And there's if there's a reasonable expectation that it should be secure, like you can't put it in the bathroom.
Right.
But
Yeah.
but other than that, it's your house. So I've had situations where on ring.com, the seller is watching the people at the front door. They're hearing them. There's a certain agent, this one agent, every single time she showed it, she pressed the doorbell, even though it was vacant. And every time she left, they pressed the doorbell too. I don't know why. But the seller would then give me a snippet of email me in real time, a snippet of that entire conversation.
Well, actually, from that end of it, that's really interesting because, from a negotiating standpoint.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that, as buyers, you don't want to say, oh, I love this house, I'll take it at any cost.
Exactly.
Right. Of course.
Yeah. So, boy, at what point is that kind of,
Well,
challenging?
If you're a buyer's agent, you want to coach them.
You have to coach them.
Right.
It's new territory.
Well, it's like when we go looking for a car. I always tell my wife, I say, pretend like you're not interested at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And eventually we'll figure out how much we want to pay for it.
Yeah. And that's why we tell the sellers to leave. But so there's this expectation of buyers that nobody's watching them, and they are watching.
That's a very good point.
Wow.
Okay, I hope I put my makeup on just before I look at the house. Okay, so here we go. Here's our second trivia question. The original Coca-Cola recipe is said to contain what controversial ingredient? That's our trivia question, all right? But we got all these weird questions today. Call 888-912-1190. If you're the first caller with the correct answer, you're going to win that free tanning certificate, which is pretty good nowadays because, you know, we're in April, sunshine's going to come, but you got to put your tan on before you put your tan on, right? The original Coca-Cola recipe is said to contain what controversial ingredient? All right, that's our trivia question, 888-912-1190. Don't touch that down. When we come back, Nam's going to answer a very interesting question about the banks loosening up and where are they finding deals. We'll be right back.
Okay. Cocaine.
All right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I saw an article. I didn't know if I wanted to prep you if you wanted me to ask this, but so there's a few companies, but Zillow in the news said that they're going to start buying homes.
I know that's where Zillow. That's the end game for Zillow. Well, buying homes, but the end game for Zillow is to just have paid employees that would show houses. Real estate agents are gone.
Wow.
You make an offer by inputting what your offer is.
Yeah.
And honestly,
Well, let's
it's
talk
very
about that
threatening
because
because we get paid a boatload of money.
Yeah, but let's talk about that because I was going to talk about I was looking at this one deal and about the. Tell you what, I'll get into this, then we'll get into that.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Nam, because the answer is I don't know anything about the buying homes.
Okay,
No.
I'll read it.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Yeah. It's good to talk about.
And then we can talk a little bit about Zillow because everybody refers to
Everybody
Zillow.
refers. Yeah, I
they're
actually
wrong.
like it. I mean, I like it as a general reference, and then I compare it. But some of the stuff, sometimes Trulia just doesn't give me the right information.
Zillow owns Trulia,
Yeah,
by the way.
it's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
It used to be.
Yeah.
it's like
Different
Corvette
information.
and it's Corvette and a Chevy, you know.
Exactly. Camaro.
Whereas those are kind of close, but okay.
Yeah.
Ready? Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. One more time, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Nam Phan and Patti Cohn. Second trivia question: What the original Coca-Cola recipe is said to contain what controversial ingredient? Cocaine. I guess that's where the cocoa comes from. That is correct. Now, before we ask the email question to Nam, we were talking off air about Zillow and appraisals and basically and other things that are going on. And I was looking at this one deal where the appraiser came from San Jose and the property was in Novato. And I'm guessing they actually made a real visit because of the pictures and I guess what they do the floor plan to measure. They really made it. But I could tell that this appraiser did not know the area because the appraisal came in at 1.5. And what they did was they compared the property to around the corner up the street where it was quiet, whereas this one was right on the busy street, and
They should have seen
they should have
that.
realized how busy that street was. And there's no way the property was worth $1.5 million.
Yeah.
It was maybe worth $1.2 million, and that blew it right out of the water. That extra $300,000 was the difference between the deal and not the deal.
Yeah.
And Nam, you had a tell you what. Before we get into the Zillow thing, let me ask you this trivia question, your email question. Are the banks loosening up to where finding deals would be too hard for you?
For us as private lenders, no. It depends. I mean, certainly they could lower their rates. They could lower their requirements. They can loosen up on their regulations and lending guidelines, and that will, there will certainly be instances where somebody will say, you know what, I actually qualify for bank conventional financing. I don't need your private. But at the same time, a lot of people come to us not because they don't qualify, but because they run into a snag in the transaction.
Or speed. I mean, there's no way the banks are going to ever compete with you for speed.
At the same time, we may lose some borrowers to conventional lenders. I think the universe of borrowers that can now get financing will expand. So we'll have a bigger pool of people who will experience some fallout.
You know, I wonder if they loosen up the standards and suddenly there's an influx of borrowers. Sometimes these banks and title companies also, they get backlogged,
Right.
and they just can't work as fast.
Exactly. That's my point. Is
Yeah.
that there will be
True.
more borrowers who may try and get a loan, and then that percentage that fall out because of time runs out. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That will be, that will come to us.
Yeah, and that's also their deposit at stake.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So, Dom, the article that you want to talk about.
Yeah, I just read an article today that was published in some magazine. It says Zillow has announced plans to begin buying and selling homes directly in 2 different test markets. One of them was Arizona, and there's another company that's doing this, but they're considered a brokerage called Open Door. But the idea of Zillow now buying directly from homeowners. They do go on to say in the article that they would enlist the agent for the transaction on both sides because they're not a brokerage. So they would actually be the purchaser and the seller, right? So they would be the client.
Yeah.
They would provide the capital, but ultimately the agent is still representing Zillow with whatever company they're with. But
what are they purchasing it for? They're going to rent them out, or are they going to fix and flip it themselves?
I think essentially they're going to fix and flip.
Or
Which is so
Mr.
crazy.
Zillow is going to live there.
Yeah,
Right.
For some reason.
So I mean, it's one more step they're taking towards biting out, taking over some of the transactions.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense though. I mean, first of all, I think we're, like you mentioned before, flip and fix is kind of going away because we're at the peak of, we are at the peak. We've been in this rapid expansion for 6 years now. So why would they do fix and flip now? That makes no sense. But I think they should just stick to what they know. But I do believe that the end game for Zillow is to have paid employees. They'll be the brokerage.
Yeah.
They'll take a listing. They'll have paid employees that would go out and show it, paid employees that would write the deal.
And do it for maybe 2% instead of 6 or something.
Yeah, or less.
Well, yeah, or less.
And then, and maybe, the salaried employees will get some commission.
Sure.
And then, and you need somebody local, boots on the ground, probably. I mean, you really do.
You do, yeah.
But they don't think that you really do. So a lot of things will blow up. I mean, you need to know neighborhoods like that was a busy street or whatever.
Well, it's interesting because, I've had my life insurance license for 30-something years. And there was a time, so, everyone kind of looks and goes, why, or the insurance companies were looking and saying, why are we paying, these hefty commissions to life insurance agents to sell life insurance? I mean, it's only life insurance, especially if it's term insurance. Why don't we just do it? This is before online. Why don't we, just cut out the broker? And eventually, when the internet came, they just said, why don't we just do all this stuff online? The problem was, and I think still is, it's not just a simple transaction in a lot of cases.
Right.
Someone has a heart problem, someone has a medical issue that they had 20 years ago, and the insurance company, and a lot of times an agent, and I'm not trying to do this to try to sell people insurance. I'm just saying this is the reason why there are life insurance agents out there.
Yes.
And it's the same thing. It's even more complicated with real estate.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more liability.
But also for insurance, an agent can really instill that deep fear, and they can keep that fear instilled much longer.
Well, there is that. There is
the
that
computer
part.
doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
I partially agree with you about maybe Zillow's motives of taking over more and more of the transaction. I don't know that they'll be able to replace the agent because that expertise, that local knowledge, you can't underwrite from a distance.
Right.
You can't do it from headquarters.
No, that's true. But I can see them saying, look, Mr. and Mrs. Agent, we've already got this transaction done. We'll hire you for $500 an hour.
Yeah.
Take it at the most 10 hours to do this. And a lot of agents, especially if they're newer agents, they'll just go, okay, I don't really have to do quote as much work. It's already being handed to me. I have to put my license on the line for liability and check off some stuff. But I can see that happening.
Yeah, or maybe there would be fewer new agents coming into the market, but somebody with experience who can really say, you know what, this house is around the corner from a major street, so it is worth 1.5 versus being right there on the major street, and a new agent wouldn't know that.
Right.
Wouldn't know that.
And then just a little perspective too, because I've been in this business 30 years. When I got in the business, you'd walk in, there was no voicemail. You'd walk into the office, they'd hand you these little slips. You'd call the people back. There was nothing online. You'd get the real estate book once a week.
Yeah.
So guarded that information
Oh,
very,
yeah.
very carefully.
Oh, yeah.
There was no
MLS,
internet,
yeah.
so you paid for the ads, and then they'd call on Sunday morning, where's the address? Well, you got to answer 5 questions before I tell you the address.
Yeah.
So when properties, and let's just say when all the data was online, there was a lot of talk like you're not going to need real estate agents anymore.
Yeah.
We know all the answers now.
Right.
Well, well, look what's happened even with trusts and attorneys. It's like, why pay an attorney to have a trust? You can just go online and download a form and fill out your living trust.
Nolo.com.
Nolo. Yeah.
Nolo, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And same thing. In some cases, no-load mutual funds are really a good way to go, and sometimes they're not. A lot of factors go in. Tell you what, believe it or not, we're gonna cut to another commercial break, and here's the trivia question: besides aces, what was the other pair in Wild Bill Hickok's Dead Man's Hand? It's a famous when you're playing poker and you say, "I've got dead man's hands," a dead man's hand. It's a certain hand. Okay, so besides aces, what was the other pair in Wild Bill Hickok's hand? Oops, dead man's hand. Okay.
Oh,
If you don't know it, you don't know it, and if you do know it, you better know it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You better get it. Do you know
Yes.
this one, Nom?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe when I tell you the answer, you'll say, "Oh yeah, I've heard that before." All right, call 888-912-1190. If you're the first caller with the correct answer, you're going to win that tanning certificate. Don't touch that dial. The Best of Investing is going to be right back, and we're going to explain how you might just be able to earn over 7.5% secured by
right.
mortgages. All right. Okay.
All right. So we're almost half done, right?
We're over half done.
Oh, way over half
We only
done.
have 2 segments, a 9:17 and a 5:10.
Oh, wow. It goes so fast.
It does.
So great.
So,
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't.
I
This
think
is good.
good agents will always be needed. I really
Exactly.
do. They may provide other services in addition, but
well, especially like a buyer, like if you have a bunch of clients who are constantly buyers of real estate, they say, "Patty, find one for me."
Yeah.
You
Exactly. Well, also, though, I got to be honest, I wish I wasn't even saying this on this, but we get paid a lot of money. I mean, like, we get, the average price of houses in this country now, I don't know how much it is, but maybe 250.
Yeah.
So if it's $1.5 million here, we're just getting the same percent.
I know.
Yeah.
That's where.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's a seller's market, and it's going to sell in a week.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like, I'm still here.
Well, what messed me up down in the Silicon Valley was in my building when rents went way down. The brokers were kind of going, hey, well, we're making 1/10 of what we were making, so they made us pay 1.5 times the commission,
That's
and
terrible.
it's still going that way.
Wow.
Yeah, they haven't changed even. So I'm sure it'll probably change very soon. But
That's
it hasn't yet.
amazing.
Wow.
I know, isn't that crazy? All right, you ready?
Yes,
So
sir.
let's do it. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Nom Fawn. Because Mark Hahn's not here.
I know,
Saying
Mark's
Mark
so
Hahn.
used to it.
Mark's not here. Nom Fawn of Pacific Private Money and Patti Cohn of Pacific Union International. Third trivia question. Besides aces, what was the other pair in Wild Bill Hickok's Dead Man's Hand?
Pair of twos.
No, eights. Aces, you ever heard of aces and eights?
No.
It's Dead Man's Hand.
Oh, why?
I don't know. Well, I guess maybe because he got shot when he had that. And I think that's the reason. But it's considered Dead Man's Hand, aces
It's
and eights.
called that after he died.
Probably.
Right? Okay.
They go, wait a minute. If you're carrying a pair of eights also, we're going to kill you. Okay. So Dom, before we get to break, we teased the audience with saying how they could potentially earn, over 7.5% secured by real estate mortgages. Could you explain a little further?
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier, in another segment, we talked about the lending that we do. The other side of our business is investing. So we use investor capital to be able to make loans to those borrowers that we talked about. And in return, our investors earn between 7.5% and 8%. So for March, I think the annualized return was 7.86, something like that. We just got the results this week, something in that range. But it's been really consistent between 7.5% and like 8% since
So
2013.
because you guys have to make money, that means you've got to be charging more than that.
Right. So borrowers ultimately they're paying around in the 9s and paying points. And the nice thing is our fund investors that the points also are shared with them. So they get a preferred return of 7% and portion of the profits, or what we call excess distributable cash,
Mhm.
and that brings the yield up to 7.5 to 8%.
And if I understand it correctly, no losses.
Correct. No losses, no load going in, so there's no cost to invest other than investing your 50,000 minimum. You
Mhm.
need to be accredited, and there's a 1-year hold.
Now, for those who are unaccredited, you also, which means you have to be worth $1 million exclusive of your home or make 200,000.
Right. So unaccredited, you can participate on a per loan basis. So we launched privatemoneyloans.com, which is where investors can purchase loans that we've previously funded in our fund, and we're selling them out of our fund to create liquidity so we can fund the next loan. And you don't need to be accredited. You have to be sophisticated,
Okay.
which is a little different term, and I think it's a percentage of your net worth you can't exceed in investing in a loan. But it's privatemoneyloans.com is where you can go and create an account and look at loans that we're selling. To invest in the fund, it's pacificprivatemoney.com, and you go to the invest page. We have a fund information session on this coming Tuesday, April 17th in San Mateo. It's on location, and event details are on our blog on our website. We'll be talking about both the Pacific Private Money Fund as well as private money loans. So we'll be talking about both sides of investing.
And how people get a hold of you if they have more questions?
Yeah, great. 415-883-2150. That's our phone number. Our website is www.pacificprivatemoney.com.
Okay. And Patti, before we forget, you're a wealth of knowledge on real estate. How do people get a hold of you?
Oh, I'm Patti Cohn, that's Cohn, with Pacific Union Real Estate, and I can be reached at 415-722-4842, or email me, Patti, Patti.Cohn @pacunion.com.
Now, let me ask you, what do you do when someone brings up, let's say, hey, I saw this, but when I looked at Zillow, it said X.
Yeah.
Well, how do you combat that?
It's really, that's why you can't buy a house through Zillow. That's why Zillow can't be the broker, because Zillow's a computer.
Yeah, it doesn't it doesn't know if it's been upgraded,
right?
If the house,
and they kind of do, kind of don't. I mean, in tract home, they're pretty good, but in the Bay Area, it's just amazing. We have microclimates, we have hillsides, we have just
well, they're
everything.
also they are pretty good about accuracy of like previously sold houses, tax records, because that's just
that's
tax
public
information.
Yeah. When they're really off, it's in the upper end, which is the Bay Area.
Right.
So I've seen $8 million houses show up as a $4 million.
Sold.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So this has been a conversation topic for 10 years since Zillow, like more than that, since Zillow first launched. We're talking somebody off the cliff of the price that they think that it is based on Zillow. Has that conversation changed now, or do people still think, oh, it's because Zillow said it's this, then?
Well, if they believe in their agent, I don't have that much pushback when I just explain to them, because I mean, you could show 5 comps, and the comps, one comp does not make a market. And you could look at 5 comps, and they are all over the place unless you really, really know why X1 sold for that. And sometimes there's anomalies, but for the most part, buyers look at it a lot too, but sellers but that's how smart sellers will hire a smart agent when you price it correctly.
Yeah, right. I wonder how many tax assessors will buy. Someone will come in with Zillow and say, "Hey, you got to lower my taxes because Zillow says it's only worth X."
Oh, they're not going to even care. Exactly. And honestly, like that's a good question back to buyers, because it only comes up with sellers because Zillow is generally high.
Okay.
But in the upper end, where you could be 100% off or 50% off, whatever, for an $8 million house, it's really 4. It shows up as 4, then that's low. Right. So the point is, you cannot trust Zillow. You don't know if they're consistent. If they were consistently high in X percentage or consistently low, then you could just say, here's what the answer is. But it doesn't work that way.
Well, even Google Maps is not accurate a lot of times, because it depends on how often they update their. At least for the outside of the house.
Right.
True. Yeah. And even appraisers rely on realtors, because appraisers chances are haven't seen that house. A local realtor that really knows their local market is the only one that really knows, because they've seen everything.
Well, what cracks me up about appraisers is a lot of times, when they find out from the bank, what does the bank need to see? And it's like, come on. Well, in theory, a bona fide contract really is what the market value is.
Right.
But
Exactly.
it's amazing how they come almost exactly within it, unless there's something really wacky out there.
Yeah, I'd say 95% of the time it comes in, the appraisal comes in at value and at purchase price, and 4% of the time it's low, and 1% of the time it's high.
And I got to think that the bankers are really only doing it because of the regulations. It's all to cover themselves in case they get audited.
You mean the appraisals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when a bank auditor comes in from the FDIC
Yeah.
Right.
and says, okay, you made a loan of $600,000 on that house. Why? Let me see the file.
Yeah.
And they've got to be able to show, well, the appraisal came in at
Right.
900,000.
Third party who's validated it.
Yeah.
It's relied on the, everyone involved's data to come to that number.
And what does MAI stand for? From an appraiser? Made as instructed.
Oh.
Right?
Exactly.
I don't want to pick on appraisers because a lot of them are really good.
Yeah.
And then it's changed quite a bit, because it used to be in the old days, you could just get your own appraisal and walk into the bank.
I know.
Yeah, right? And then the
I know.
bank says, well, no, okay, now we got to hire the appraiser. And it's gotten even worse, where they have this thing called a bulletin board, where the bank has to kind of step out of it themselves and just kind of put it out to bid, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
crazy.
it's even further complicated after the recession, because now they don't want the listing agent talking to the appraiser.
Yeah.
So sometimes what listing agents do, a little trick, is instead of saying it's just on lockbox, it's just like you change the showing instructions where the listing agent must be present. And then they have to listen to us when we're at that front door. And they really,
smart.
and they kind of want to listen to us because they don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, I
When
understand.
an appraiser asks me, which bridge should I take to get to the property, I know I need to meet that guy.
Which what?
Which bridge should I take?
Oh, which bridge? Okay.
Okay.
I didn't
You're
hear
in
that term.
trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble. That's bad. I've had that happen. I'm like, okay.
Well, you know what's really
Which to our
funny?
listeners means that they're coming from a long distance and they don't know the market.
Exactly.
Well,
And they should know the bridge.
Yes.
Well, also,
How far are you coming?
Well, it's funny because this one broker who was giving me the one in Novato comes from Southern California, and he touted, and it's only minutes from San Pablo Bay.
That's
my
right.
God.
And I'm thinking, you know what? You got to educate yourself just
Yes.
a little bit.
It's not
All
a
right.
selling point.
We're gonna cut to our last commercial break. Don't have a trivia question, but we were gonna have some closing comments on the best of investing. So don't touch that dial. We're gonna be right back. All right.
Yeah.
What do you want to cover in the last?
what do we do last? Okay, so
And I've got. I'm trying to remember how long I have to keep this thing going. I think it's a minimum of 52 minutes. So 15 minutes worth. Otherwise, I'll just have to sing and
Let's just
dance.
do
Yeah,
like
that's
15 minutes of Rochambeau.
Yeah.
How many we can do, and who's gonna win?
sure. Why not?
Three-way Rochambeau is gonna tell.
Actually, I've got some funny jokes and stuff. I was just going through some stuff.
okay.
Um,
Let's see what else.
You brought the karaoke machine today. I was
Yeah,
wondering
there
what
you
that
go.
was about.
that's right.
I'll talk about. I don't have a specific deal of the week, but I'll
Oh,
talk
yeah, that's
about
right.
kind of the deal trends
Okay.
of the.
And then I saw something. I don't know how much time we have, but I
We
saw
have-
something about remodeling. A little survey done.
Oh yeah,
like
what should you do?
58% of homeowners will funnel money into a home improvement project this year, according to a recent poll. And for the 5th straight years, it's outdoor renovations. And then 2/3 of those, like 43%, 58% is a lot, because that tells you, A, there's a lot of money out there,
Right.
because nobody has to improve their property that way,
That's true.
especially like an outdoor barbecue. And it also tells you that like 2/3 of those 58% of the people are doing it to stay in their house
Yeah.
versus remodel and get
To
ready.
get out.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's a good stat.
Mhm.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
As I said, an Animal House. Let's hit it. It was my
My-
Otis Day in the Nights.
If we dance with Joel Dates.
That's right. Very
That's
good. But this is hands about this big.
Yeah.
You mind if we dance with
With
your
Joel
dates?
Dates. That used to be
Well,
my
I
favorite
know.
movie.
I know
Exactly.
almost every line of that
Yeah.
movie.
Me
Okay.
too.
Mind if I
Says a lot
you
about us.
drink heavily?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Do you want to go to yours and then
Yeah.
deal of the week?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Nam Phan and Patti Cohn. Patti, you want to make a quick mention about remodeling there?
Well, yeah, according to a recent poll, 58% of homeowners plan to funnel money into
That's a tough
home
one.
improvement projects. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So that tells you 6 out of 10 people have some flush money. And the number one project is outdoor backyards,
Okay, so
entertainment,
now that tells
barbecues.
me that that means they're gonna stay.
They're going to
Yeah,
stay.
if they were doing something like, a
Kitchen,
kitchen and bath
bathroom.
or something maybe to sell potentially, but outdoor kitchen stuff, that tells me something different.
Yeah.
Very
And
interesting.
so that's back to why low inventory. It's cheaper to stay. And it also tells you this economy is doing really well because no one has to build an outdoor barbecue.
Sure they do. That's a necessity.
I know, exactly. It's
Absolutely.
a first world problem.
Yeah,
I like that. Nom, deal of the week. What do you got for us?
no specific deals, but just trends.
Okay.
So just again, seeing a ton of bridge loans where somebody is trying to get into a property before they sell. I mean, we're just seeing so much of that just in the Bay Area, particularly, and that's the concentration of our loans. But it's still a seller's market, so people are hesitant to list unless they have a home to move into. So we just continue to see that, and we actually have been busy. We've been really picked up in the last 3 weeks. It hasn't been in Marin though, per se.
Marin's really slow right now. But another value of getting a loan through Pacific Money is for a bridge loan is that you can effectively come in with a cash loan. So when you're competing with
cash
cash offer,
It's okay.
because when you're competing with 5 or 6 people, you're the one with cash. Cash, a lot of people have cash, let's face it. But if you're one of the ones with cash, you're getting a different edge. And not only that, you can close it in 10 days or whatever.
Well, there was an elderly couple who was moving out of a $2 million house, and they were downsizing to $1.2 million, but they couldn't qualify for the bank because of their income. And yet, ordinarily, you'll only fund up to maybe 70% loan to value, but because they had a $2 million house that was free and clear, and the $1.2 million purchase house, target house, you guys were able to make a loan of the entire $1.2 million,
awesome.
all cash offer.
Right.
And when you cross both properties, you're like 38% loan to value. So it's a very, very conservative loan.
Right. So we were able to provide 100% of the purchase, and a few times in those similar circumstances, even more than 100%. Because why would you need 110%? Well,
Closing
sometimes
costs,
you want to,
right?
Closing costs or repair or upgrades to the new home, to the home you move into. So
that works pretty well. Any last moments before we get into our thoughts for the day?
I think that's good.
That's it, huh?
Yeah,
Okay. You have an event again coming up in San Mateo, right?
So April 17th, so just around the corner, Tuesday in San Mateo. Go to our website or call, and the number is 415-883-2150. Website is www.pacificprivatemoney.com. And real quick, you wrote an article on the benefits of should you buy first before selling, and sort of the economics of the math behind the transaction of buying now and paying a higher loan versus waiting and potentially paying even more because of appreciation. Property. So go to our website. It'll be published on there next week.
Oh, okay.
So people can download
very nice. Very nice. Very nice. In fact, you're so nice to me. I'll join you in San Mateo. How's that?
That would be great. Well, do you have to? Will you autograph the article then?
Yeah, I will. I will autograph the article. So if anyone wants to show up and Sam, it's being held actually at the New York Life office. Isn't it?
Yeah, at the New York Life office.
Do you have the address or just?
I think it's 2121 El Camino Real, and I think it's on the 4th floor. But on our website, pacificprivatemoney.com, you'll be able to see that. Do call us though if you want to register or
space is limited. Space is always limited.
It is.
All right. Here's our thoughts for today. I've learned so much from my mistake. I'm thinking of making a few more. I should say mistakes. There's a mistake right there.
This has been a huge mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to learn a lot. And I don't suffer from insanity. I enjoy every minute of it. All right. So that's it. Next week, we're going to have Mary Jo LaFay, who is a reverse mortgage specialist, and she's invited a professor of taxation. So he's going to talk a little bit about taxes, even though we're past, the deadline. But that's okay because a lot of people are on extension. So
you guys are going to nerd out. I
know. It won't be as fun as today. I'll tell you that.
It'll be Revenge of the Nerds for you.
Isn't Form 651 just beautiful?
62. It's 6251, which is alternative minimum tax. Thank you very much. All right, tune in next week to the Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away more free prizes for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long. All right, so now we got about
Rochambeau?
a few minutes here. So I'm gonna. Oh wait, no, I put it. Actually, I'll
That's
put it
great.
here. So if you guys want to hear some funny stuff,
Yes.
because it's really funny. Well, okay, it's pretty funny.
Don't oversell it.
Yeah, don't oversell it. Okay.
No laughs.
All right. So the police are called to an apartment and find a woman holding a bloody 3-iron standing over a lifeless man. The detective asks, "Ma'am, is that your husband?" "Yes," she says. "Did you hit him with that golf club?" "Yes, I did." The woman begins to sob and drops the club and puts her hands on her face. "How many times did you hit him?" She goes, "I don't know. Put me down for a 5."
Oh, no.
That's kind of bad, but it's
It's really
funny.
bad, but it is funny.
As Larry the Cable Guy would say, "I don't care who." That's funny.
It's one of those like, wait, is that anti-man or anti-woman? Here's one where, okay, so if a man says something in the forest and there's no woman there to hear him, is he still wrong?
Yes.
I said that in a group one time, and it really is more about the craziness of women. It's not about men. But these men were like, "That's not fair, boo."
Really?
I'm like, you don't get the joke.
Yeah.
Women are crazy.
Well, wait a minute. That's usually a joke for a man to say. It's a little funnier, I think, if a man says it because it's kind of poking fun.
Yeah.
You know, that way. And then there's, I read the book. When women are from Venus, men are wrong. It's
Exactly.
long.
Exactly. Yes, dear. Just wake up every morning and say, "I'm sorry."
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That usually helps quite a bit.
I know.
So a gushy reporter told Phil Mickelson, right? "You are spectacular. Your name is synonymous with the game of golf. You really know your way around the course. What's your secret?" Mickelson replied, "The holes are numbered." I like that one. All right, how about this one here? Okay. A husband and wife are on the 9th green when suddenly she collapses from a heart attack. "Help me, dear," she groans to her husband. The husband calls 911 on his cell phone, talks for a few minutes, picks up his putter, and lines up his putt. His wife raises her head off the green and stares at him. "I'm dying here, and you're putting?" "Don't worry, dear," says the husband calmly. "They found a doctor on the 2nd hole, and he's coming to help you." "Well, how long will it take him to get here?" she asks feebly. No time at all," says her husband. "Everybody's already agreed to let him play through."
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
love
All right. Okay. You ready for a couple of wife jokes here?
Yeah.
Let's see. April. No, I haven't read this one recently, so I got to make sure it's correct. "April and I were lying in bed the other day. My hands were slowly finding their way across her body. I whispered, I'm going to make you the happiest woman in the world." She whispered back, "I'll miss you." See, Henny Youngman used to say, "My wife dresses to kill. She also cooks the same way." My wife, Rodney Dangerfield. "My wife and I were happy for 20 years. Then we met."
Rodney.
That's
He was
good.
had some
Yeah.
good
He
ones.
was too
And then
much.
good old Milton Berle. "A good wife always forgives her husband when she's wrong." She's wrong, right? George Burns said, I love all these guys who, from the old time. "I was married by a judge. I should have asked for a jury." Let's say Honey Youngman also said, "I bought my wife a new car. She called and said, there was water in the carburetor. I asked, where's the car? She said, in the lake." Phyllis Diller said, "Never go to bed mad. Stay up and fight." Henny Youngman also said, "The secret of a happy marriage remains a secret."
Yeah, right.
Let's see. After a quarrel, a wife said to her husband, I was a fool when I married you." The husband replied, "Yes, dear, but I was in love and didn't notice."
That's really good. That could go either direction.
Yeah, that really could. Let's see. When a man steals your wife, there's no better revenge than to let him keep her. What was the one that says, let's see. "I decided not to report my stolen credit card because the thief was spending less than my wife."
That's right. That's right.
funny. I like that one.
I heard one in a newspaper in LA, a little ad said, "Husband for sale, take over payments."
"I haven't spoken to my wife in 18 months. I don't like to interrupt her."
Oh my God.
My girlfriend told me I should be more affectionate, so I got myself 2 girlfriends. Okay. Let's see. Getting married is very much like going to a restaurant with friends. You order what you want, Then when you see what the other fellow has, you wish you'd ordered that. Okay. A man is incomplete until he is married. Then he's finished. My son asked, Dad, how much does it cost to get married? And I told him, I don't know, son, I'm still paying.
Yeah, right.
Dad, is it true that in some parts of Africa, a man doesn't know his wife until he marries her? Dad says, that happens in every country, son. Then there's a man who said, I never knew what real happiness was until I got married. Then it was too late. Let's see. Okay, a man places an ad in the classifieds. Wife wanted. The next day he received 100 letters. They all said the same. You can have mine. Okay, let's see. A woman was telling her friend, I made my husband a millionaire. And what was he before you married him? She
A billionaire.
said a billionaire, yeah. Very good. You got that one.
Next week we'll do husband jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There are many.
The trouble with being the best man in the wedding is that you never get to prove it. Okay. A man upon his engagement went to his father and said, Dad, I found a woman just like mother. The father replied, so what do you want? Sympathy?
Yeah, right, right.
80% of married men cheat in America. The rest cheat in Europe.
Oh my God.
Those are bad.
That was bad. Yeah.
Okay, and then these, we have just a few minutes here. Okay,
yeah.
these are not husband and wife jokes. So that ones. It says here, should I have a baby after 35? The answer, no, 35 children is enough. I'm 2 months pregnant now. When will the baby move? With any luck, right after he finishes college. What is the most reliable method to determine a baby's sex? Childbirth.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. My wife is 5 months pregnant and is so moody that sometimes she's borderline irrational. So what's your question?
Yeah, right. And?
My childbirth instructor says it's not pain I feel during labor, but pressure. Is she right? Yes, in the same way that a tornado might be called an air current.
Yeah.
When is the best time to get an epidural? Right after you find out you're pregnant.
Oh.
Is there any reason I have to be in the delivery room while my wife's in labor? Not unless the word alimony means anything to you. Is there anything I should avoid while recovering from childbirth? Yes, pregnancy. Do I have to have a baby shower? Not if you change the baby's diaper very quickly. Our baby was born last week. When will my wife begin to feel and act normal again? When the kids are in college.
Yeah, really.
Okay, and then let's see. We've got just a couple more minutes here. These were ones that were for interviewing for a job. This one says it's best for employers. There's people putting this on their resume. It's best for employers that I not work with people. Okay. Let's meet so you can ooh and ah over my experience. You got a lot of that.
Enough about me. What do you think about me?
How about this one? You'll want me to be head honcho in no time. In other words, watch out. I'm gunning for your job.
Yeah, yeah.
I have an excellent track record, although I am not a horse. I'm like, that's funny. I am loyal to my employer at all costs. Please feel free to respond to my resume on my office email. Let's see here. I have become completely paranoid, trusting completely no one and absolutely nothing.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's someone I want working for me. I procrastinate, especially when the task is unpleasant. Personal interests. Donating blood. 14 gallons so far. Gee, I hope not all at once. Please don't misconstrue my 14 jobs as job hopping. I've never quit a job.
Oh, God.
I like this one. Reason for leaving the last job. They insisted that all employees get to work by 8:45 every morning. I couldn't work under those conditions. I added, and they didn't change the color of the box of Kleenex tissue.
Totally.
The company made me a scapegoat, just like my last 3 employers.
God.
Finished 8th in a class of 10. I like that. That's something I'd highlight.
Did you ever read Quora? It's like a
website
website.
Quora, yeah.
Well, there was one where an applicant, millennial, was I'm guessing, was applying for a job at Facebook, and they said, "Yeah, we're going to fly you out, but it's a coach." And that person asked on Quora, "Should I ask for first class?"
For an interview.
So many people comments were like,
ranted.
I would say absolutely. In fact, make sure that it's that they include a round the world trip too.
Yeah.
Last one here was.
I mean, nobody flies them out, like especially.
Yeah,
of course. I know they flew Christian up for an interview, but of course it's a coach. References.
That's
none.
millennials.
I've left the path of destruction behind me. All right, and that's our show for the best. you all next week.
Next week. That was great. Thank you. This was, you know what? It's a good team right here.